Okay, there's one last feature of Timer Zero that I want to tell you about. Very useful one. A timer is a timer because it counts the edges on the internal clock. But it's just counting, and it doesn't have to count clock edges. It can count any sort of edge that it has. So you can make it a counter of any input that's just going to be a rising or falling edge. We have something like that. We've got our button that generates rising and falling edges. So let's use this to print out how many times we've pressed the button. Before we used our own counter to do that, but here we'll just use this. Okay, so what we need to do in the code for OpenTimer is timer zero source internal is now external. When we say external, we're meaning it's going to count the edges on pin timer zero clock input, which is pin 6. It's also RA4, so it's the one we need to configure RA4 as a digital input. And of course, we have to wire up our button to RA4 now. So let's look at the code. Okay, so right here I've switched it to external. Right? Use 1 to 1. If I used, say, 2, it would do every 2 button presses before it counted once. So we start the timer at 0. Really, it's a counter now. And we set the flag to 0, but we're not going to go over that. Here I've made sure that RA4 is an input. Inside the while loop, I'm monitoring that pin just so that I can check the read timer. I don't have to do that. I just want to show that it works this way. So here we're going to print out the value of read timer every time we detect an edge. So let's build that and load it and look at putty. So I'm going to press once, for some reason, first time, dread 0. Right? You have the button, press the button kind of crisply. If you move your button around, right, the contacts are going to be bouncing many times. And so lots of edges going into that port, and it'll count all of them, even though you might not want them to be right. That's called bounce. Okay. You might use this for, say, an input from a turnstile. You want to count the number of people coming into a stadium, right? Each time the turnstile turns, it could generate an edge, and the pick could count that, how many people you've got coming in. That's it for now.